Action!
Yeah!
Hello, everyone!
And welcome to The Lines. My name is Ava,
And I'm Nina.
and we're on episode 4.
Ooh.
Between the Lines. So this episode I think is really interesting because it's the episode that kind of encompasses our whole research ethnographic experiment that we've done with this project, artlitgeo.com/liminality of difference/the lines, and it demonstrates it with us actually acting out the liminality of difference through what we've done with each other in this experience. So maybe we want to elaborate more on that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, liminality of difference is all about connecting with others through difference, basically. And I think me and Ever, we reflect that so well, though. You're gonna see it because I think we're so different, and it's noticeable. There's so many, distinctions between us, but at the same time, there are also so many parallels and similarities. And that's also not only in these chapters that we are going to read through today, but it's also about the whole book. Like, if you read
Even
it...
our style of writing. I mean, so our original plan, basically, and what we've done, is we obviously are looking at a couple of pieces of already existing theories that are Black geography theories, that are social science theories, that are pretty well discussed theories, right? From, Foucault, who everyone always talks about, Bell Hooks, who everyone always talks about, Kimberly Crenshaw, who we mentioned a little bit.
Yeah.
And then also...
Saidiya Hartman,
and then the literal liminality of difference, which is based off of all kinds of other things that Nina has researched before this.
Yeah.
And it all comes together, but also with paralleling autoethnography. So Nina and I are both expressing our individual lives and not really relative to each other. And then we kind of have this one moment, which this podcast episode is based off of, where we are writing about each other.
Yeah, it's the one thing where we were like, okay, because on the one hand, I think I was afraid that it was gonna come off a little bit narcissistic. We're gonna write about each other.
Well, it's like intimate, eh? I wouldn't say narcissistic.
Yeah,
I don't identify as a narcissist, but
it's very vulnerable as well.
Yeah.
But I also think it shows off so well. Like, it explicitly shows liminality of difference.
Yeah. How do you mean?
Because of the way how different we are, and we reflect on that. Okay, no, that's a spoiler. But the way we reflect on each other, because we describe each other through our own eyes, and in that case, we show, oh, that's what I thought when I met this person. That's what the experience was actually like. Mm-hmm. But I know that their experience was different. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, there's this connection, and it is built precisely because we're different, but also similar.
Yeah. I see kind of two sides to this. I see the one side that is that, okay, so we are from very, very juxtaposing experiences, and then we're brought into this one space, and this space is difference in the context of living in Germany, and we can share and connect in that way. Then I also see it as, okay, we're very different, and then by looking at someone else, you can learn more about yourself.
Yeah,
so
true.
It's like, oh, okay, Nina's maybe a little bit more shy. Okay, so then I see that I'm not as much. Okay, but that's a bad example because I also think that that's an example that puts people in boxes, in this.
A little, yeah.
Oh, you're just introvert and I'm extrovert. Because it's not limited to that either in any way, shape, or form because it's also fluid. But I see there's two different ways to connect with people on the basis of difference.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But,
which we demonstrate, I think.
Yeah. Oh, we'll talk about it in detail, and hopefully it's going to be so much fun.
Well, and I think that's so we have our little plan on paper here, but that's pretty much what we're going to do in this whole episode. So we're going to look at our little books. Mine's a little ripped, but yours looks nice. And then we're going to give some impressions. We've both read each other's chapters, but not really.
Oh, it's a completely different I think, it's like this TikTok thing where they say, oh, a girl just wants to know how another person sees her through their own eyes. And I
Oof.
think it's a very, I mean, not just like, of course, for girls, it's not very gendered here. It's just this desire that when you see yourself through other people's eyes, you see yourself as a little bit more truthfully. And that is not to say that your vision of me, for example, is the how people actually see me, but there is like some middle ground between how I present myself and how you see me in particular, and how maybe others see me.
Right, right. Because I think ultimately you really only know who you are. So, okay, an example that I've thought about, me and Nina, we had a discussion about this, about Nina was recently in Bucharest. And when Nina was there and going up to people, you can tell that your own story if you want. Like you were telling people, asking people if they spoke English.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Oh my
the
God.
story.
So there is this thing of like, in Russia, I have had this experience where people would approach me and ask me if I speak Russian. And I'll be like, okay. And I know why they're asking me, because at this moment there are a lot of Chinese people in St. Petersburg specifically. And it kind of like, yeah. But at the same time, you sort of feel a little bit racialized.
Of course.
So when people would ask me, like in an international setting, like, do you speak English? I'm like, it can be accepted as a little bit racist, like you are put in the box, but also like objectively, when I was in Bucharest, I had to ask people the same things because I don't want to come up to people and assume that they speak the language that I
exactly.
speak. And in that case, I was like, I was this person who is in two positions at once. So I'm the one who gets asked that, and I feel like not very pleasant about it. But then, as a person asking, I don't really mean anything by it. I just don't want to assume.
Yeah. And it's also like this thing about how you're perceived versus how you actually are. And then when Nina was telling me about this, I was thinking, we were talking about the context of like, okay, if English is your first language, it makes it even more interesting because you don't want to like, okay, so there's a difference between going up to someone and asking them if they, and speaking to them in English, whether you're an English native speaker or not. How that's perceived is different versus like, it can be like, oh, you're conceited for assuming that I speak your mother tongue, or oh, you're assuming I speak the lingua franca, and this like orientation.
Yes, of course. And then it's the same because my accent also doesn't really give away that I'm a foreigner. So then I'm like thinking, adding layers to those existing layers. Mm-hmm. And then it's also a thing of like, if you are approaching, I think Germans actually feel that sometimes, where you approach them and you try to speak German to them, and in that case they feel like, oh, but I can speak English, and it seems like it's going to be easier
for accommodating. It's like the intention is to be accommodating.
Yeah, but you're like, damn, dude, I wanna speak German to you. Let me speak German. I know that it's not perfect, but it's always this thing, and yeah, you can't really.
Yeah, but then bringing it back into, you said, so like your first statement was that perception, like how other people's perceive you, it like shows like truth more or something. And this is like, so sorry, this is interesting because it shows that, but then also doesn't really equal who you are. True. Like, so it's like weird. But I also think that like, okay, so if there's something that you think, like something that you think about yourself, and then somebody else says it to you, versus something that you don't think about yourself and somebody else says it to you, it's like, definitely different. And then also, it's just like weird. It's weird how we let exterior forces validate what we already know about ourselves.
True.
Or what we think about ourselves. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot. It's also because, so the texts that we write, they're written from the position of love for each other, of our friendship.
Oh, I never thought about it like that, but that's true.
Yeah. So that, in that case, I think it's an experience that we both encountered of like reading something and it was like, oh my God, this is so nice. It's like, feels so weird. Yeah. And it is affirming in a way, but also you're kind of like, yeah, but like we're we're friends or something. But I think because it's part of this bigger autoethnographic experiment,
right,
you can see how the person approaches the things that they write. So like, I know the way you write at this point. I know how you approach this text. So in that case, I also have your opinion in your own words, like in the context of your own expression.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because it's in the context of the other four writings, so it really like comes full circle.
Yeah,
kind of.
True.
Oh, interesting. As opposed to like it just existing in a vacuum.
True, because like if it exists in a vacuum, that's why I feel weird sometimes. You congratulate a person on their birthday. And I'm like, of course I'm gonna write nice things to them. Of course they're gonna write nice things to me. It's my birthday. right? But like
Okay,
when
fair
a
enough.
person just like randomly writes about you, and people don't do this randomly. But with this autoethnographic experiment, it was just one of those things to do on the list, I think, in a way.
Yeah, it literally was. I mean, so Nina and I had a list of questions that so actually this is a good time to say, we didn't like plan how the book flowed. We just we had a list of questions that we knew that we individually needed to write about. We had the theory that we knew we needed to write about. And one of them was just like, who is Nina or who is Ava? And it was never explicitly from a position of love, although it was kind of odd. I guess that is true.
I think because it also went like we were writing those after having worked with each other a lot more.
Yeah, true.
So it also impacted because what I wrote was initially not anything that I thought I would write in the beginning.
Really?
I mean, I don't think so. I looked at my
I was
notes.
definitely going to write about Nina's hair, which is the first.
Oh, that's
line
what
of the-
everyone mentions at this point, which is very interesting. Once again, pink-haired Nina is only like Germany Nina.
Yeah, true.
Like I had pink hair
Then
in
what?
Russia, but it wasn't like pink-haired Nina. It was just Nina, and now she has pink hair.
Yeah, and you had blue hair, right?
No, I
You
didn't.
had like some under
I had
blonde or something.
I had like a blondish hair, and I also had red hair.
The red. I got the red.
Yeah,
confused.
but here I'm like pink-haired Nina, and they always coordinate with the hair. So the hair here is like completely different. It's like the defining thing here.
Well, when we were walking here to film this podcast, you mentioned that people think that your favorite color. Talk about outside perception. People think that your favorite color is pink because your hair is pink.
True. Yeah. But that's it's also the thing that I never thought about. Like, it makes complete sense that people would assume that, but then when it comes up in conversation, I'm like, what do you mean, why? And then they look at me like, your hair.
Your hair, your makeup, your top, no, that's funny though.
True, yeah.
Yeah, but it is interesting because that is, I mean, I wrote about that, of course, and I also reflected a little bit about how the outside world, like, sees you and perceives you, because that's also a thing. And anyway, and you did the same, actually, to me, but also in a very interesting way. It's the only part that I've highlighted so far, but I thought we were going to, like, yeah. But it's about how I always seem confident. Which isn't to say Ava's always the confident, energetic go-getter. Ava's human, which she has moments of doubt, and it's nice that I can see them. Because actually, this is the thing, like, people really are like, oh, Ava, she's so at a high energy and confident, blah, blah. And then I'm like, well, I'm trying to figure out how much of that is real versus fake. Because, I mean, I do think I'm like a pretty high energy, confident go-getter, but I also am having really weak moments, and it's nice to see that someone sometimes sees them.
Oh my god. It's also because I remember when you first read this part out loud to me, and you were like, what do you mean you're happy about
Yeah, true. It's nice that I get to see it.
You have to finish the sentence.
Yeah, and then you finish the sentence, and then okay.
Oh, you're not gonna elaborate on the nice things that I say?
No, but it's really nice.
Okay, yeah.
That's also some conversation that we had about your writing about me, because it's like a little chuggy. Like, you say we're academic soulmates. I'm like, I don't even know how to respond.
What do you mean you wrote that too? You literally said, you said that you called me that facetiously, but like...
I said that in my text?
Yes! You didn't know?
No! Where?
I was because I actually read that after writing my own.
You facetiously called him your academic soulmate. Oh, and you wrote that after.
No, I wrote that before. So it's just synchronicity. I wrote that about you, and you wrote that about
funny,
me.
But I do it facetiously. You did it unironically. So when you did it, I'm like, what? Okay, it's fine. That's cute. Sorry. I'm blushing. It's fine.
Anyways, but I think for me, the same thing was... First of all, I think you have this phrase, which is like, Nina changes space around them. And
yeah, you make it place. Space place.
I've never thought about having like an influence on the surroundings. I would argue that for the most time, I feel like I try to not have this effect on things. I want to not be that noticeable.
Well, you try not to see it, right? Like, that's also the thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and this is really a thing. Like, when I'm walking around, I'm really trying to be present. We had a conversation yesterday about smiling to strangers. Like, when I keep my eye contact always open. And I definitely immediately put it down when I get a creepy stare from a man. But I still like try to smile at strangers, but you're like in the zone.
I don't care.
Yeah, no, exactly. But that doesn't mean you don't change the space around them. It just means that you don't see it.
Yeah, I don't notice it. So that was really nice because it is a compliment. I think I didn't think that I had that power, therefore I just like distance myself from it. And you also put it after this line. They lie in the flowers, and I take the pictures, and it was so.
That's real.
Because
I've taken lots of photo shoots of Nina. My camera roll, and like for the record, I also think this should be on the record. Our relationship is strictly platonic. Like there's nothing. There's nothing. We have a very platonic relationship. But I take like my camera roll, it's like you would think that Nina's my girlfriend. Like I go through my camera roll and I have hundreds of pictures of you on there. And it's like behind a sticker wall or behind some flowers or it's true.
Yeah,
it's a dynamic that we have.
But I never thought about it because I think in my head, because you're the ambitious and bright person, which I write
you're
actually.
also ambitious and bright.
I know, but it's different.
But I'm filling up space more.
Yeah, you feel it like a lot with personality, I would say, because I'm reserved. Once again, I close off and I sit and I let my appearance do the work in this case because my appearance is already different, right?
Sure, certainly.
And I would say that for you, it's also like interacting with people because you're sociable and things like that.
Yeah.
So in that case, I think I always think that I am invisible next to you. Not in a bad way, but I don't think that I'm as noticeable. Mm-hmm. And then when you wrote that line, I was like, whoa. Okay, yeah, because I know that that's true.
Yeah, of course. It's cool also, sorry, in the ethnographic experiment thing, it's also cool because through the writing about someone else wrote about you, you can like reflect on yourself more.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
It's not just about the experience of learning about yourself while writing about me, but also about reading about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But
if you're listening to this and you're inspired, I think I really recommend it as like an activity. With a friend of yours. Like
definitely.
Someone, and also maybe it could be with someone who's a friend of yours who's very different from you, or a peer or a colleague, because you can really, or just a rando that you're like thinking about, like write about them.
I mean, random might not be as pleasant as a friend, but okay.
But you can also, you can do some, oh dang it, what's it called? Critical fabulation.
Oh, yeah.
And you can just create a story about the no.
Yeah, but that's not how that works. That might go into.
Yeah, that's not how that works, guys. I mean,
we take that back.
Yeah, never mind. Damn it.
But also, I think overall, like writing letters is a very good exercise, they say. But it's a very good way of understanding each other better as well. Not only yourself, but the other person.
I'm certainly a letter writer. Like, I've written so many letters that I've never sent. And it's such a good exercise. I hope that no one finds them. But it's great.
Yeah, well, you've never written one to me.
You don't know that. No, I haven't.
And I've given you one. Not only did I write one, I've given you one. Yeah. I mean, this is arguably also a letter to ourselves, but
true, it's a love letter. Okay, so can you explain this quote? He knew that Julian took him seriously, even when Paul himself felt foolish and overreacting.
Ooh.
Like, what is the context there in terms of these violent delights, 2020? Micah never, I have to sneeze.
What's the context? Gesundheit.
Danke. Yeah.
So, the person there, it's good that you mentioned that we are platonic. The book itself is about these two very codependent boys in like the 80s in America. And I think they really find understanding in each other. And it also, at the start, you don't really know what's going on with them. And they're like in this liminal space where you're sure that there's something queer there. Which is kind of like, it's a different level. But the thing is also that in a lot of cases, I think that also plays into the academic soulmate thing. So for the longest time, not only am I different, but I'm also sometimes a bit ahead of the curve. And I think that when I met you, like we both talk in class. We enjoy it.
But not a narcissist. Nina is not a narcissist. Please, let's...
No, that's important because sometimes I have to talk about it and I don't want to sound like conceited. I don't want to sound like this person who's like, oh, I'm so smart.
Yeah, but you're just really into school. I mean, we're making a podcast about school stuff. Like, it's...
True.
It shows. It's okay. You're a big nerd.
Yeah, that's true. But it's also, I think, so this is one of the ways where I learned from you in a bit, where I think you're the kind of person who's very self-aware in terms of not only the effect that you have on people, but also you're very aware of your strengths.
Yeah, I'm what we like to call a body realist. Not to bring this about body,
Yeah.
but it's like I just feel like, okay, if you don't like your if you have a big nose, and someone's like, okay, yeah, you have a big nose, like it just is. You know, it's like I don't like when people are like, oh no, your nose is small. Oh, you're okay. No. It's just like, why can't we just be realistic about things? Some people are better at have some strengths. Some people have other strengths.
It also shows that people attach something bad to those things as well. So it's
Yes,
that
that's
kind of
also
thing.
powerful. That's also
Yeah.
really a thing.
But sometimes you just want to be like, yeah, I mean, that's how it is.
Yeah, I think actually you can talk about this in like a racial way too. Like I think the nose thing was a bad example, because it's like have you ever met someone who's like talking and then they're like black, like they won't speak out loud things, and it's just like I'm also not colorblind. I'm not blind about things, you know. Sometimes, and so it's like that too with strengths.
Yeah,
It's like
true.
you've received, like Nina, you've received enough affirmations about in your life about how you're a good student, you've done well, you've earned scholarships. So of course it's okay to be like, oh yeah, you're a good student.
True, but it wasn't like, it took me a long time to
Yeah.
actually come to the point. And also when I did come to this point, it was just, oh yeah, that's a fact. I think here, as I'm changing a lot, it's more about like, oh, I'm a good student, and that's actually exciting. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not just an ordinary thing that's there.
Yeah, totally.
And in that case, it's also very different. One thing to acknowledge something, another thing to acknowledge, oh, that's very cool. Like, I know, for example, that I dress in a way that's very bright. I have pink hair. It's very, like, out there. And to the point where I was like, yeah, I mean, that's how I like to do it. And here, I think, because I get a lot of, just not to brag, but I get a lot of people come up to me like, oh, I love your hair. Or they sometimes, oh, you look so great. And certainly, I've never thought, because once again, as you said, I block myself from being perceived. Clocked me so well, honestly. It felt a little embarrassing, but yeah. And the thing is also, and I was like, oh, right. And I feel like, because people turn to me sometimes, I've had someone ask my opinion on like creative stuff, because like, oh, you seem like you know your way and something. I'm like,
you look a little artsy.
yeah. Which, once again, I've never even thought of myself as artsy, which is insane if you think about all that I've done throughout this year, if you think about this project.
The multiple documentaries you worked on.
True. Yeah.
No, crazy. Bookbinding. Also, that's like what bonded me and Nina originally. It was like
Yes.
bookbinding, which I think is a really interesting hobby. We're binding, so like our book is bound. We're hand binding it.
Yeah,
Which
true.
is cool. Yeah.
No,
Anyway.
it's like, it's a great combination of things together.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think so. There's a line in this that you wrote about me. That's about like Ava doesn't make other people feel small unless they project it onto themselves by comparing their life to hers. And I feel like this is crazy. So like I really think it's a big compliment about, I just really don't ever want to make someone feel small. When we just have this thing about talking about strengths or something. Just because I'm strong about my strengths. Like I know that I can blah 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 blah. That doesn't mean I want to push someone else down. Like there's this concept of zero sum game.
Oh,
This
yeah.
idea that when someone else is high, that means you have to be low. And I think that is crazy that that people think of life like that. Like, oh, I'm doing well. That's good. That means you have to do bad, or like this type of like logic.
That's a very like capitalistic dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm so against that logic. You know, like I really think we need to be always lifting each other up. And like, and so when you said that, I was like, oh, that was really affirming
Because
to me about one of my internal truths. Then when you say comparing their life to hers, I'm like, well, damn, that's just a big compliment, because I know I've had a big life, but like,
I mean, I feel like I've maybe from your stories, or maybe from just like talking to people, I know that people think, oh, Eva is like has so much energy and she does this and she does that. And in that case, I'm like, I don't know like how to tell you guys that it's like that's just how she is. And in a lot of cases, that's also like you think that this person is so cool and they're doing so well and so on, but they're not like doing
they're so
cool
human.
things. Yeah, they are not doing cool things because those things are cool. They're doing cool things because that's what they want to do. And I think that is the thing that so many people catch about you, but they can't quite capture it in words. And in that case, they can't reflect on that. So like when you go to like, all those courses and all those extracurriculars, what they really think about and what they really compare is the fact that you want it and you do it. And there's so many people who want something and they don't do it.
Whoa, that's just a can of worms right there. Because I actually originally went to school for business analytics.
Ugh.
No, but really, because I just thought to myself that was like the practical thing.
Yeah.
Well, now AI took that job. Any type of analytic job. I mean, you're just checking a robot all day. No, I'm just
my
kidding.
God.
But for real, like I remember I sat in my first class and I was like, okay, I'm going to study sociology. This is the thing that people will say, oh, you're going to have a gray collar job. You're not going to have any job in sociology. But I was thinking about this too. It's like, but actually there's two things. One, you can't fail if you don't give up. And two, especially if you have the privilege to be able to make the decisions to do what you want to do, which not everyone has these privileges, for the record. People need to make money to live. They don't have access to education, all this stuff. I was like, well, maybe I can make that 1% that actually gets a job in sociology. And I still haven't. Now I study human geography, but I've applied for lots of scholarships, all of these things. But it is like a real thing. It's like people really think, okay, you have two options. You have like this option to work in the IT sector, safe, or you have this option to do what you really, really love. And then when you choose the option to do what you really, really love, even though it's not safe at all and you might not get a job. And again, it's a privilege to make that choice. But when you can make that choice and you do that choice and you do what you love and you know exactly what you're saying, then you're getting more and more accolades. Like you're getting more experience, you're getting better at it. And then at some point you actually are good enough that you can make money off of it, or you can, not to focus on making money, but you are good enough that you're like qualified, quote
True.
unquote. And then you get validation in the thing that you love versus if you just choose the safe route, you know?
Yeah. I think that, this is one of those similarities that are not really similarity. Because I'm also not, I'm also studying human geography. I'm not in the line of people who are gonna make money.
No, why would you say that? That's another thing though. We fight about that too. Like, you're like, you can't cap yourself.
Yeah, I know.
Really, really, really close friend of mine. He's a music producer. And he's studying that and he's like looking back like, oh, maybe that won't be the thing that I can make money off of. And it's like, well, why would you think that? Why are you thinking that right now? Like, think about that when you already failed and you need to get a job at Aldi. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, but right now you're like you're doing your degree. The world is in front of you. Like, come on.
Yeah.
on.
All right. But the thing is that at
Motivation.
some point, I think that I would have been good enough to try and study for a STEM major. I could have definitely done that if I applied
but
myself.
you do what you love.
But the thing is that I never thought about it as an option. So in my head, there wasn't this choice. For me, it was just like, oh, I like it, I'm gonna do it.
Yes, exactly. And that's the greatest thing.
But that's the difference between us two, I think. Well, like, you thought about applying to business analytics, so you had this, like, practical part of you to think about it.
True.
And I was just like, yeah, you know what, whatever, I'm gonna study this.
Okay, that's true. But that also is a huge, like, that's a great thing about you. You know, like that you just follow what your heart is telling you want to study and do. Because a lot of people, and I think also specifically in a German context, they just do what they, I'm not going to put anyone in boxes. But a lot of people, they just do what they think that they're supposed to do.
True.
As opposed to actually following it.
Yeah, I sometimes talk to people and I'm like, I know that for some people, like, their lives is completely different from mine. But there was this moment of, like, when I decided to move here, right? And I was like, okay, you know what? I remember when I was younger, I'm like, oh, but doesn't everyone want to move abroad? Isn't that like the dream? What do you mean? I thought we all wanted that. Everyone talked about it like it's such a big thing. And then it was like, it was like you were thinking about it because you wanted it.
Yeah. Well, that's a really beautiful thing too, I think. Like, because some people, they do what they're, like, maybe quote unquote prescribed to want to do. Like, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they actually want to do. And good for them. Honestly, I'm happy for them. You know, like, especially, like, you know, that there's, in my hometown at least, there's this path. And it's like, okay, you graduate from high school. High school might be the best time of your life, but it was definitely up there. Okay? Then you go to college. That should be the best time of your life, or at least up there, right? You find your high school, you either stick with your high school sweetheart or you find your college sweetheart. Then after college, you maybe go to grad school, maybe not. It doesn't matter.
It's like you're telling me an American movie. It's like a book that I read before.
No, but for real. Then you get married, you start to save up, you buy a house, you maybe adopt a pet, then you have a kid, then your kid goes into the school system, and then the process repeats itself. And that's like a really common thing, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, true.
If you want to do it. But actually, it's important to think about that. And sorry to circle back to this whole thing, but it's like, I do think that some people, when they're projecting onto my life, that's the thing that it's about. It's like, oh, well, in Germany, there's the saying, hätte, Fahrradkette. It's like, woulda, coulda, shoulda. And to that, I say, woulda, coulda, shoulda, but it's never too late to follow your dreams.
True.
I don't know how this is where the conversation went.
But it's also, I think, oh my God, the thing about never making them feel small. We talk about, I have this line, actually in my writing about you, where I talk about, oh my God, let me find it. I can do this. I can probably remember this. But the thing is that you would tell things that I would never even think of saying. So the thing is of like, sometimes I can be very straightforward. We talk about it a lot.
Yeah, Nina's a little blunt.
But also, I don't clock that. I don't feel like I'm being straightforward. Unless sometimes you tell me something, I'm like, oh, I didn't think that it could be perceived that way, right? But there's also things where you say things and you're like, oh, I was so rude. And I'm like, what do you mean? That was like the most normal exchange ever. You made them feel so nice. What do you mean you were rude?
I don't know which context you're talking about.
It happened a couple of times, and that's what I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
That in a way, like, you never want to be rude. You never want to make them feel small. You never try to. And then you think that you did, but that's not the case at all. And for me, I mean, I'm also, once again, subjective perspective.
Right. It's all subjective perspective.
True. But then I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. That wasn't rude. You were totally normal. You smiled at them. You like laughed with them. What do you mean you were rude?
Yeah, crazy. Crazy. Nina, what are some lines that stood out for you in the text about yourself?
Oof. Oh my God. That is a lot. Well,
besides your daydreamer and headphones, pink hair.
True. Yeah.
We can move on from the hair now, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think, oh my God, you talk about Russia so much. Oh my God, first of all, there's this line where you're like, oh, St. Petersburg, I dreamed that Nina will tour me around the city one day. And then St. Petersburg is the second largest city in Russia. And it's funny because you've said that on the podcast. And then I'm like, it feels like this one fact.
I don't know anything about Russia. Dude, I've Googled St. Petersburg so many times, and that's what I end up with. For real, though. It's like, the St. Peter, but the Russian thing is, like, I was on an airplane once, and I was reading a book for school, and I forget, they were asking, the old couple next to me was asking me about the program I was in and what I'm studying, and I was like, yeah, it's really cool, it's really international. Actually, like, my best friend in the program is from Russia, and then there was a woman in front of me on the airplane, and she turned around, and she was like, she gave me the stare, like, just the fact that I know someone from Russia, I'm probably an op. I mean, for the record, I was on my way to Florida, so.
I mean, you were on the way.
No, but crazy. No, but it's like, yeah. It is a pointed, and also for the record, it's a pointed thing. It's something I'm always thinking about in the context of how do I know you, because I can just assume that, like, I can make assumptions, but I actually can't make any assumptions about Russia, because everything I've consumed about Russia is probably some kind of, like, has some kind of intention behind it.
True.
Everything is either pro or anti-Russia. Everything is, like, there's just so much, and same with the U.S. and to an extent, but, like, especially because I'm consuming things in the context of being from the U.S., it's always, like, Russia, so it's, like, I do talk a lot about Russia.
No, but, like...
But I don't know anything about it.
It's like, when you study English in Russia, the one phrase that, it's like a meme of some sort. So you say, London is the capital of Great Britain. I'm so sorry to people. But if you say it like in a very strong Russian accent, and it's just to imply that, oh yeah, I know English. And then you say this one phrase.
And mine is, St. Petersburg is the second largest city in Russia.
But it also made me think about, it is something that we bring up a lot in our conversations, I think, is that the USA is very known.
Yeah.
People know about the US. There are some things that you tell me sometimes about your life. Like right now you were talking about your small city and the way people live there. I'm like, it's like I've seen this film before.
Well, but question though, because I think that, okay, and that's crazy for me to say out loud, but I think of that as like a kind of universal experience. You have your education, you get a job, you have a baby. The baby repeats. Baby gets an education, baby gets a job, baby has baby, repeats.
True, but I think the things that you said, like, oh, high school is the highlight of your life, or college is the high school is the highlight of your life. I was watching all of these TV shows, American. I'm like, what the hell do you mean? Like, school is the most uneventful thing ever.
Yeah, okay, I do see this because our high school system is like kind of hegemonic.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
use that word a lot. It's like my top used word.
But yeah, that's the thing. So sometimes I'm like, oh my god, it's like I know that already. Because, and there's so many things where, like, okay, for me, a lot of the things that I encounter now are something that I've only seen on the screen.
Yeah.
And then you tell me that, I'm like, oh my god, people actually live like that.
Yeah.
But
And then meanwhile, I'm writing about you and I'm like, well, St. Petersburg is the second largest city in Russia.
yeah, because Russia is unknown. Like, there is literally like this joke, well, I joke about it all the time, that Russia is like a big black hole on a map. People know that it's Russia. People know that it's maybe cold, which I do get reference to that one stereotype a lot, actually.
Interesting that you're saying people bring that up to you a lot. Like
Yeah, oh my god, because the weather is like the universal small talk, and then people
the universal small talk, the weather. Objectively, the weather is the most commonly used form of small talk.
it probably is.
Yeah, maybe.
But the thing is that, yeah, and then it gets brought up. But the truth is, no one really knows things about Russia. And I sometimes feel that pressure because people talk to me, and the things that I say about Russia, they're subjectively mine.
Wow.
And I feel
Which
like
is what I tried to say. I tried to
True.
acknowledge
Yeah,
that.
probably.
But that's so true. That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's, once again, that's very interesting because then I ask you about the USA. And then I have to bring up all this context. Oh, so I've seen that, but also maybe it's not like that. But then you're like, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, have you ever had the experience of hearing someone talking about Russia and then you really disagreeing with them? Because this is also why I think I think it's so powerful how you just said it, that experience is still subjectively yours. Because like I've heard so many times someone say something about the U.S. and I'm just like, or actually somewhere I've lived, anywhere I've lived, places. I've heard people say things about places, and I'm like, no, it's not always like that. Like, you know.
I see what you mean. Yes, I think it's once again comes back to this idea, like, it's so easy to just simplify something.
Yeah.
To make it seem more interesting. And that's what people did when they like discovered new lands, right? They come back and like, oh, there's this thing, it's so exotic, it's so not like what we're used to. Yeah. When in fact it probably has the same goddamn purpose of what, I don't know, your kettle at home.
Yeah. R.E. Orientalism by Edward Said.
Oh my god, yes. We've had a lot of conversations about that.
And also R.E. The West and the Rest by Stuart Hall.
Oh god, yes. We had this disparate. I hate that word. Disparate were Europe's class, which we mentioned I think once or twice here, and it was also once again the East and the West dichotomy, which is very interesting because we discussed it in the context of Europe, and then here's Eva who comes from the US, which is as Western as it goes. And
but then even within these contexts, it's like Europe is also considered Western, but then within Europe you have the East and the West. And then you have the west of the West, which is the US, but then even the US has its East and West.
True.
Even everything else, like even or the North.
You
and
can
the South.
infinitely split people, which is the problem about the books as well.
Places and everything.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, in that case, then I am from Russia, which is East, but that's not the East that we're talking about because we're talking in the context of Europe. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, what does Europe mean? And then I constantly do that. I'm like, yeah, there are a lot of things about Russia that are European, especially for me. I'm from St. Petersburg. There's like certain similarities there. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm like, I mean, that's not Eastern Europe. I don't think it is. It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah. Dude, that's so interesting too. How we feel in spaces.
Yeah. But that's also one of the things that this reflection helped me realize, actually, that we learn so much about the world through each other, in this case.
Yeah. Through each other, and then also through other people in general in our lives.
Yeah.
And that's also circling back to, probably a good concluding moment, circling back to when you said that other people's perception of you helped you define truth.
In a way, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't, I don't think that, I personally like slightly disagreed with that because it's not really what the real truth is. But we are all relative to each other.
Well, first of all, I said that it's a bit more truthful for me.
Okay, sorry.
But that's also, like, because of my own subjectivity.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, it might be that, like, oh, like for you, right? People perceive me as very, very confident. And then in contrast to that, you know that you're not always confident.
Yeah, true. Also, I mean, validation, please. We're all seeking some sorts of validation in our lives.
Yeah.
100%, so.
But yeah. So it's nice to validate each other.
Yeah, and I do feel really validated from this, and it was very sweet to read your message, Nina.
Oh my god.
Nina's was a little sappy. That's why I had to say that we're not.
You literally, you know what you said? You compared my hair to a bundle of roses.
Oh, but that's so
kidding?
sweet. But it's perfect because you can see, and now you can't if you're listening, I'm sorry. But if you're not listening and you're watching on our YouTube platform or some platform where you can watch this on, you can see that there's different layers of color to Nina's hair. And that's what I was referring to. And also it changes based on the week or the month or when they've dyed their hair last. So it's like a thing there. But yeah, in our next episode, I think we're going to talk about futurity and time and kind of have a little bit of a conclusion from this.
Yeah, how my hair changes with time. We're going to bring that up too.
Yes,
so
exactly. Not linear. It doesn't change in a linear way.
True.
So stay tuned for our concluding episode of The Lines. Wait a second.
What?
Yeah. This is our concluding episode. I just can't believe it would be our concluding episode, but it actually, the next episode is the last one.
I mean, it is the last one
for the series.
The book.
Yeah, for this series.
For the season, maybe. I don't know.
Exactly, it's for the season. No, but precisely, because it's, these podcasts go directly with other content, but we're not stopping here.
We're not saying goodbye.
No, just see you later. But we still have one more episode. So stay tuned for our next episode.
See you later. Bye.